Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Mind, Body, Soul Transformation Podcast. I am jumping on today with an episode all about reminding us how we are part of nature and how aligning ourselves with those energies can help us live that life in alignment that we talk about so much in this podcast. And this topic came to me whilst I was out doing a very short walk this morning and wondering and pondering what this week's podcast episode might be. And the things that kept drawing my attention were the new growth in all different forms, but particularly on trees, those little offshoots that are coming out. Where I live in the Southern Hemisphere, it is just started spring this week, and so we're seeing that beautiful new growth in all places. The baby birds that are out, the beautiful flowers, the butterflies, you name it, there's evidence of it all around us. And that just kept drawing my attention on this walk this morning, and I knew there was something there for me. I knew there was a message there for me around leaning into that and that opportunity, and how it can really help us to think of ourselves as part of nature. And I think as humans, we often don't, if I'm to be honest. I think there is a part of how we've set our lives up to think that there is nature and there is the natural world and there is us. And because we've been able to create what we've been able to create and live lives that look so different to the rest of the natural world, that in some way that has disconnected us from the fact that we are living beings existing in the same seasons and cycles and on the same planet as the rest of the living beings that we share this beautiful planet with. And that is part of what has disconnected us from living in alignment with ourselves, from living in alignment with the planet, from knowing our truth and what we are here for, and also being connected to what is to come for us. And so I want to dive in a bit today, and it will be an episode like many of my episodes where I touch on the very practical sides of things that you can be doing, and I will weave in some spirituality side of things that can enhance that to help those of you that might be open to receiving that messaging and weaving in those practices. In noticing that those bits of new growth that were particularly on the trees, the other thing that came to mind was this idea of alchemy, of alchemizing our hardships, our tough times, our traumas, our pain into something new and something beautiful. And the reason why that was so calling to me is those big trees that have been there forever, for however long, that have broken branches or have branches that are devoid of life, that just have little bits of new life springing out of them after a period of drought, or a period of not being able to grow foliage, or a period of damage from storms, from whatever life that nature has thrown at those trees, and how they are coming back and revitalizing themselves and renewing themselves after those hardships. And it's so amazing to think across all of these things how there are little lessons like that that are out there for us to receive, little bits of wisdom, really, honestly, that surround us if we're just able to be present and connect in with what we're seeing, what we're hearing out in nature when we're connecting with nature. And so I really want to encourage you all, even just as a starting point, to start to tune in a little bit more with the natural world, to take the time to be present, to look, to listen, to appreciate the actual beauty that surrounds us every day. I was thinking that on my walk this morning, just all around me, if I could just be present and look at the beautiful flowers, the beautiful trees, the beautiful birds that were flying, the beautiful sounds that those birds were making. There was just so much opportunity for me to tune in with that beauty and connect with it and feel complete gratitude for being surrounded by it. And it just reminds me that everything is a mirror. And for those of you that are in some form of spiritual practice or place, you will have heard the saying, as above, so below, as within, so without. I just got chills with sharing that. But I just think that speaks so beautifully to this topic today, that we are all one. What we are seeing outside of us is happening within us. What is happening within us is happening to our beautiful earth as well. And just coming back to that as often as we can, to ground ourselves in that, to remind ourselves that we are part of the seasons, the cycles, the events that happen to our earth also happen to us, also affect us. All of this energy is moving through us all constantly, and we are sharing energy, and we have the potential to share wisdom. We have the potential to share healing. And so that's what I really want to dive through today, is how can you connect more with this idea, and how can that help you really use that energy and use the timings and use the seasons to direct your energy in a more aligned way that really allows you to get the most out of things, to get the most out of yourself, and to get the most out of what you are trying to achieve. So let's start with seasons, because I think that's a really beautiful and easy way for us all to start. We've got 4 seasons in a year, all lasting 3 months long. So it's not like we're having to think about this year every day or every week and how I need to adjust my energy or actions to align with something that's more frequent and track that more closely. We all are very aware of when the seasons are changing, and we see that reflected in the world around us. We see that reflected to some degree in what our lives look like during those seasons. But much of that is unconscious for us, for most of us. And so let's bring some consciousness to that. Let's bring some intentionality to that. And I want to start with autumn or fall. For those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, you have just stepped into this season this week, and so you might be starting to feel some of these effects already. Autumn or fall, when we think about what happens in nature, the first thing that comes to mind, I'm sure for many of us, even those of us in places like Australia where we don't have too many of these, well, at least where I am, too many of the trees that drop their beautiful leaves in the autumn or fall period. But things start to fall away. Leaves start to fall away, and that's in preparation for winter. It's in preparation really actually for spring and summer, when the new growth can come through. But things might start to fall away from your life. You might start to need to look at your life and think, I'm in this season of things falling away. What is falling away? What do I need to let go of? And if you haven't listened to the last 2 episodes, might help you a lot with that part of your path. So please go have a listen, because that is all about things falling away from your life and how it is creating space for what is meant to come in your spring and summer seasons. And the other thing that came to me whilst I was reflecting on this energy is we're coming back to the bare necessities. And so what are those bare necessities in your life? You've just come out of a really probably beautiful, busy summer period with lots of gatherings, lots of celebrations. There's probably lots going on for you, lots of play, lots of joy, hopefully. We'll get to that summer period soon. But that's all going to start to quieten down as you move into that autumn period, as you move through that autumn period into winter. So what are the bare necessities that you need to come back to, that need to bring you back into alignment? What are those things for you? Are there things that you need to let go of to allow you to connect more with those bare necessities, more with those core parts of what you're here to do or what you need to focus on in this season, in this year of your life? The Jungle Book song just came through too, which obviously it did with bare necessities. You know, it's the bare necessities. Forget about your worries and just strive. Maybe they're the things that need to fall away and be let go of. What are those things that are bringing you worry and strife, and how can you get yourself out of those situations? How can you get yourself into a situation where they are no longer pulling and drawing on your energy? So take that opportunity in the autumn or fall period to connect back in, let things fall away, connect back in with what the bare necessities are for you and your life. And really, really importantly in this space, and again, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to episode 11 in particular, is to have faith. Have complete faith that what is falling away is what's meant to. And don't hold on too tight to those things. Be it things that you're needing to walk away from or let go, or things that are exiting your life and you weren't prepared, or it doesn't feel like that's what's meant to happen. It is happening for a reason. So absolutely have compassion and grace for yourself in feeling all the feelings, but try not to hold on too tight through this season. Let things fall away as they need to. Then obviously the other side of that autumn or fall period is winter. And winter, again, think about what's happening in that natural world around us. Those trees have all lost their leaves. They are resting, they are recovering, they are recharging. They are getting ready for their busy period of growth and beauty of spring and summer. We've got animals that go into hibernation in this period and go into that period of rest and recharge. Again, getting ready for the new beginnings, the new growth, the new babies, the new fertility that comes the other side of that. So moving into your winter season, whatever hemisphere you're in, what do you need to do to rest and recharge and recover during those 3 months? For a lot of us, if not all of us, that is going to be spending a lot more time by ourselves and going inward, that hermit mode, connecting in with where you're at, connecting in with listening for your guidance, really leaning into the practices that help you stay in alignment, or your spiritual practices, whatever that might look like for you. Taking the time to possibly develop that part of your life and focus more on that part of your life. Taking courses in that space that are gentle and restorative and are not asking a lot of you, but are connecting you back in with yourself, those bare necessities, and getting you ready for what is to come in the second part of the year. Winter really isn't a time for really taking action or charge. And I know we exist in a world where that's not always possible. Our lives look very much the same all year round, from what's expected us, from a hustle culture, from a go, get after it, chase your dreams. And I am just as guilty as any of not really respecting what the season of winter is asking of us. And in some ways the weather helps, that cold weather. We don't necessarily want to be outdoors, and we're not necessarily getting in big gatherings and getting together and doing big things that might come in the warmer months of the year. So that helps. But a lot of our lives is still go, go, go. And that just is the reality for now. Hopefully not forever, but it is the reality for now. So acknowledging that this isn't going to look like a bear hibernating in a cave for 3 months, but with the time that you've got, how can you tune into that energy of resting and recharging? And even in the work context or your family context, how can you bring more of that energy in, that inner self-reflection energy in, rather than pushing the projects or pushing the school sports or pushing the whatever that might resonate with in your particular life. The thing that you can do as part of that tuning in with yourself, spending some time to receive messages and receive guidance through those practices, is actually to strategize and plan for what these next seasons of your life might look like. What is the aligned action that you want to take come spring to help propel you forward to the life that you are wanting to create? What are you being called to do with these next seasons of your life? And are there little things that you can be getting ready so that come spring you can plant those seeds? So let's move into spring, because this is where this has all started for me today, because very luckily for me here in the Southern Hemisphere, that's exactly the season we've stepped into this week, and the weather is beautiful, the world is beautiful, and it's just a season, I think, for all of us that just brings this zest for life, this passion. We're just surrounded by beauty. We can feel the warm weather. It's just stunning, and it's hard not for that energy to be contagious, even if it's subconscious for most of us. Spring is a season of fertility and obviously growth, which I've already touched on. And out of that growth, of course, there's lessons there too. Like, we're growing out of lessons that we've either learnt over the last couple of seasons, or maybe that are popping up for us through spring. Like, what are the lessons coming up for us, and how can we turn that into beautiful growth, or acknowledge the growth that we have made? Are we responding to those lessons differently? This is the season where we can start to plant those seeds. What are those steps that we need to be taking to pursue what it is that's in alignment with us, with our soul's purpose here on this earth, with what it is that we are wanting to create, manifest, birth into this world? So we start planting those seeds in this season, and we start to see the little early blooms and blossoms that are coming out of those seeds, that little bit of feedback or that response, or something just taking off a little bit, something transforming out of the work that we have put in, out of that preparation that we've done in the earlier seasons, out of the seeds and the work and the aligned action that we're now taking with the passion and zest that comes from spring. And we're starting to see some of the indications that this is the right path, that something beautiful is going to be created or grown out of our work, out of our creations, out of our actions. So let's use that energy that we feel when we walk into spring, and use that zest and use that passion and pour into our growth, pour into what it is that we want in this world, that we are aligned with in this world, that we are wanting to manifest. Use this energy and use it for that. The other thing that came to me whilst I was getting my podcast recording room ready for this podcast was spring cleaning. And I do usually clean this room before I record a podcast, because it's a spare room, so you can imagine that it's sometimes the dumping ground for a whole heap of things as well. But today that felt particularly important, and it made me think of spring cleaning and needing to clear out the clutter, clear out the distractions, clear out the weeds, however you want to think about it. This is an opportunity to do that, to clear it out, to plant those seeds and make the environment the best possible, whatever that environment might be. Your relationships, your home environment, your work, what you're focusing on, what you're pouring your energy into, all of those things. Clearing out the things that no longer are in alignment, or just no longer feel like they're the things that need your energy, need the fertility of the soil, need any of these things, and clearing those out to create space and free up energy for the things that you are meant to be focusing on in this season of your life. Now, I'm trying to keep today's episode very much focused on Earth, Gaia energy, but it is hard not to bring in the astrological influences on that energy, because it affects us, it affects the planet. So I do just want to touch on now, for spring for me, for autumn for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, that we're also moving into eclipse season, have just moved into eclipse season. First eclipse is on the 17th of September, and that is in Pisces. And I just want to talk about eclipse season briefly in this period, because eclipse season is all about new opportunities and growth and transformation, and often that is radical. And that aligns so beautifully with this spring energy that it feels really powerful, and I felt called to speak to it here. And part of that is the breakthroughs that come around our karmic baggage and our releasing of that. And so that spring cleaning piece and that clearing out of those old energies to create space for the new beautiful things that are coming in, the new opportunities that come out of that transformation, out of the unexpected changes, just linking those two energies together felt really powerful for me. And again, coming back to those of you that are in autumn and fall to go through that eclipse season, those unexpected changes and opportunities for transformation that come out of things falling away. So if that's of interest to you, I would encourage you to go dive into a little bit more around the eclipse season that we've just stepped into and what opportunities there are for you in that energy to also help you through this next few months of your life. And then lastly, we have summer. My favourite month personally, although it's tough competition. I do like spring. But it's just a month that is just so full of joy and happiness and play and fun. Like, that's the energy of summer. And that's the energy we want to lean into. We've just spent a season of doing the hard work, of taking aligned actions. Now it is time to reap what you have planted, to harvest that fruit, those offerings, those blessings, those abundance from the work that you've just done through spring. Like, genuinely. And I was thinking about that this week just with regards to the mango tree that's in my front lawn. And I've been watching it over the last few weeks as it started to bud its little flowers, and they're starting to flower this week. And just thinking, I'm so excited for those beautiful little flowers to turn into beautiful fruit this summer for me to enjoy. But think about that in your own life. The work that you're doing, those little blossoms that you're starting to see out of that work, keep tending to those, keep doing the work, keep turning up in a way that isn't aligned with what you are trying to call in for yourself. Because if you can do that through spring, come summer, you're going to start to be able to harvest that fruit, the fruit of your work and hard labor. And there's still work to be done in summer, just as there is all months. But it is also a time to bring community together, for gatherings, to get around other people and their energies and celebrate and have fun. And really, probably what I'd bring this all back to is, it is the season to follow your bliss. And what might that look like for you in that season of your life? And to celebrate the work that you have put into yourself, your growth, your business, your family, your own spiritual self-development over the last 12 months, to truly celebrate that. So I hope that was helpful. It's certainly a concept that's new to me as well, and it's easy to be one that we lose track of. It's easy to be something that we get so bogged down in the hustle and bustle of this current existence of us on this planet, and just forget how influential these energies are to us and how much they affect our lives. And if we're pushing against them, say we're trying to really push hard and do things in winter when we're meant to be resting and recharging, we're going to meet resistance that's going to make things hard. It potentially is going to call in moments within our life to stop us. Be that, gosh, it could be anything. Could be sickness, something to force us to rest, to force us to recover. So try and come back to this energy and this idea fairly regularly, and think about what season you're in and how that might be helping you guide your life. I want to move from the seasons and how they affect the earth, which obviously is very much affected by sun energy. And there's a whole other heap of stuff happening in that space as well that I'm not going to focus on just yet. I want to move from seasons into the earth herself and her beautiful energy, and how disconnected we are from that energy, and how we're really being called at this time to connect back in with her energy and what we want our relationship with her to look like in the long term, in the new earth that we are currently creating. Because we are on a shared karmic path with her, and again, as above, so below, as within, so without. what we're seeing happening in the human collective is happening to the earth. What we're seeing happening to the earth is happening within us. That is all a similar path to this new earth that we're creating, to the 5D, to whatever we want to call that. And so starting to reconnect with that idea, reconnect with that energy, it's going to be powerful just for us to understand what is happening in our lives, why these things are showing up for us, how we might be able to understand that energy to help us work through the things that are showing up for us, but is also going to help us give back to the earth and be showing up for the earth, for Gaia, as she needs us to right now. And that's so important. And it's going to let us, I believe, bring this new earth, or create this new earth, which we are creating, sooner. So there's a lot to cover here, but what I want to start with is just this idea of how you can connect with Earth's energy. And I do this fairly often in my meditation practices, and actually sometimes in my Reiki practices too, anchoring into the earth and feeling her energy move up within me. I believe that we can use her energy to heal us, and we can use our energy to heal her. And so I would encourage those of you that have a meditation practice or are even open to this to try to start connecting with Earth's energy in a few different ways. Probably the easiest first step to take is to take your shoes off and go outside and stand on the earth. Now this is called grounding, and it is literally going to shift the energy frequency of your body by connecting directly to the earth. And that could have a whole range of benefits for you. But let's just start with the fact that you are connecting with her earth. So go outside, take your shoes off, connect with that earth. Stand there, sit there, whatever you want to do, but connect your body to that earth. Close your eyes, take some breaths, and just see if you can feel something shift in you. You know, this is a newer concept to me in terms of only over the last maybe 6 to 12 months have I even become aware of this concept of grounding. But what it's made me reflect back on is those nights that I would be at home needing to take something out the front, usually rubbish to the bins, and I wouldn't put shoes on. And I'd walk out the door barefoot over the grass to the rubbish bin, and I always just felt a shift in my energy, a calmness. I would often then look up at the sky, at the stars, and just, it was this feeling overcame me of calmness, of connection. And at that point in time, I certainly wasn't on this path, so I thought nothing more of it than probably I'm just outside and I've escaped the hustle and bustle of what's going on inside. But now I can see that we often experience these things in our everyday life but don't appreciate them for what they really are. And some of you might feel the same when you're walking at the beach, on your toes in the sand, whatever it is for you, wherever your place is where you feel most connected to Mother Nature, to the earth, to that energy. Get out there and do that more and start to recognize that feeling that comes over you when you are connected to that energy. The other thing you can do, and this doesn't have to be when you are directly sitting on or in contact with the earth, is to connect with her energy. And so I do this in my meditation. I'll sit there, or I will get into my meditation zone, whatever you want to call it, and I will call energy up from the center of the earth, or I might even root my energy down to the center of the earth, and I'll do that through my imagination. I'll imagine roots growing out of my feet, my hips, whatever it might be, right down, deep down into the center of the earth, and I will just feel grounded, secure, stable. Now I am a very strong Taurian, so that is energy that I'm really comfortable in. but it feels powerful to me. And similarly, I can call energy up from the earth, up into my body, up into my heart center, up into my chakras, and feel the energy shift. Feel that connection with earth, with Gaia, with possibly the archetypes that are associated with her as well, with any of the spiritual beings or guides that are out there connected with Earth's energy. So there's no harm in this. Why don't you just try around with that and see if that's something that works for you, connects with you. Even if you just feel something small, try not get in your head and think, I've just made that up, it's just in my head. What's the harm? What's the worst that can happen? You feel good for that moment. Keep trying, keep connecting with that energy. And similarly, sending your loving, healing energy back down into the earth. And this can be very intentional, again, through your meditation, sending white light or whatever that might look like for you down into the earth with the intention of sending her healing energy. You can also send her the energy that you no longer want in your system, not because you want her to have that energy that is in not alignment with you in her, but she's able to transmute that into something beautiful. So send it with that intention, just as she does with the things, think about compost, just as she does with that. Turn it into something beautiful and powerful that can energize something else in the future. Send the energy that's no longer aligned with you down to her for transmuting, for her to use to create something beautiful. Obviously, if we're spending time doing this energy work with her and using her energy, we need to start honoring her. Well, even if you're not going to do that, let's start honoring her. Let's start doing things that will bring healing to the land, to the sea, and to all living beings, because we've been on this planet for however long, and at least in recent times, we are not living in harmony or balance with her. We are taking and taking and taking, and there is not a lot of giving, and that is not sustainable. It is time for us to wake up to that. That is all part of this ascension process and transition, that we will wake up to that. But let's start doing that now. Nature lives in balance with her, and we are part of nature, and we are not honoring that part of our deal. She is here supporting us, supporting our lives, supporting everything that we need, literally. And we so don't appreciate that. It is time for us to start looking at the things that we are doing that are affecting her, that are affecting things like our climate, that are polluting our waterways, that are poisoning our plants, that are poisoning our animals or harming our animals, whatever that is, that are harming each other, really. Like all of the things that we are doing that do not serve us, truly don't serve us, certainly don't serve the planet, and are only doing harm. We have to face that so that we can then start to move forward and know what it is we can't bring with us, what it is that we have to stop doing to move forward and create a future where we are in harmony with the earth. Because at the rate we're doing, she won't be able to support us. What we are doing to her is not sustainable, and the time will come where we've drained so much of her life force energy that she can no longer support us. Be it that we've killed the bees, or we've polluted all of the water that we can no longer drink it, whatever that looks like, or we're in such a bad drought because of climate change, whatever that looks like. If we don't wake up now and stop and start to realize not only what we can't do anymore, but what we need to do differently moving forward, and start moving from that place, our fate is certain. We really do need to restore the earth. And I've spoken a bit about how we need to take aligned action for that. We need to start tapping into her energy. We also, something that's really powerful that we could do is to start to visualize what this new earth might look like for us, what this 5D earth might look like for us. Because from what I am learning is that we will create that. And it won't just be through our actions. It is going to be very much through our energy and our intentions and our connection with what it is we are trying to manifest in that regard, that what we are trying to co-create together in that regard. So let's spend some time, again, what's the harm, in actually visualizing what that might look like for you. What is that beautiful, pristine earth that we can live in balance and harmony with? And what does that look like for you? And I got this beautiful, beautiful deck this week, Oracle deck. Just trying to grab it, sorry. It's called the Golden Future Oracle, and the cards are stunning. And it's all about this new earth and our golden future. And I pulled some cards for this episode today, and of course ones that exactly what we're talking about, our beautiful planet and nature and connecting with the beauty that's there and the energy and the wisdom that has to offer us. But the other thing that this deck has cards talking about is beautiful descriptions of what this future planet might look like. So for those of you that want to connect with this energy, I would really, really recommend this deck. Some of the descriptions around what our homes would look like, what our cities will look like, what our communities will look like, just brought chills to me and made me want to cry, because I am so excited to be here on the planet at this time, to be doing this work to help to bring this into a reality for my daughter and all the generations that come after her. Not just in my line though, for all of humanity and all of the living beings that get to experience this beautiful earth. So yeah, visualize and connect with what that might look like for you. Like, think wild, beautiful things. It might be simple things like butterflies in a meadow of flowers, bees buzzing and able to do what they're here to do, beautiful clear waterways flowing through abundant forests full of animals and beautiful trees, deserts having rain again and flowering again. What could that look like for you? And spend some time connecting with that. Again, it links in with, I think, what I shared in last week's episode around this idea of manifesting from that place of what it is you want to create, not from a place of lack, not from well, this isn't the earth that I want to be living in because look at that rubbish there and look at whatever, look at what's happening. That's all true. We have to face that, but we also have to spend time visualizing and connecting with what this is going to look like, because that's where we manifest, that's where we create this from, that's where we alchemize what we have done to this planet and turn it into this new future. It's not, of course, just about thinking about all these beautiful things that could lie ahead for us in the future, not only visualizing this, but actually backing that up with action. What are the things that you can be doing today, tomorrow, this week that are aligned with that future vision, that can help bring that future vision into reality? And this is just a small example for me, is I have gone online this morning and ordered a bunch of veggie garden stuff. I'm about to go pick that up once I finish recording this podcast, and I want to start growing some of my own fruits and vegetables at home. And that's little. That doesn't have a huge effect, but it has an effect. It has an effect both in terms of then what I'm needing to buy from a consumerism point of view, and the packaging and whatnot that goes along with that, the fertilizers, you name it, all of it. It also has an effect that I then have something to give to my community. I can share that growth and that beauty and that abundance with my community, with anyone that would like some of those offerings that I might have to offer out of that. So what are those little things that you can be doing or no longer doing possibly that are in alignment with exactly this, honoring the earth, trying to live in balance and harmony with her, and calling in this beautiful new earth that we want to create. And I don't have the card with me, I don't think, but one of the beautiful cards that I read was all about how in the future, and the not too distant future, we'll have this beautiful way of just no longer creating the waste that we currently have. So rubbish won't be a thing, but then we will find a way to get rid of all the rubbish, including things like nuclear waste. And we just got to believe, we've got to take aligned action, and let's bring it on. I think the last bit there is just sitting in gratitude for what it is that is sustaining us. And that's exactly what the earth does for us. So let's honor that. Let's appreciate that. Let's have gratitude for that. And that probably leads me into what I wanted to touch on, probably to wrap up this episode, and that's around water. It's interesting. I've been hearing a lot about water in the last probably 3 months in particular, in the different areas that I learn from, the different teachers and resources that I tap into. And a lot of it has been around how water is shifting in consciousness right now. And I don't want to dive too much in, mostly because I just haven't done the research and don't want to misquote anything, but I know there's research out there around how water responds to different frequencies and creates different patterns in response to different frequencies, and that is reflective of much we don't understand about living things, but also non-living things, well, things that we don't believe to be living, like water, like our earth and our soil, and their level of consciousness. And so yes, hearing a lot about a shift in water and its consciousness currently, and how we are being called more to connect with water in its most purest form, which is very hard for us to do these days because we've polluted the waterways, because of how we get our water, because of the treatments that water undergoes. But even just connecting more with the energy of water, when you're having a shower, when you're drinking that glass of water, and actually trying to feel the energy of it and connect with it, both from a cleansing point of view, but also connecting with the wisdom that water and the earth has to offer us, because there is more than just an energy there. There is wisdom for us to get from these things. Water obviously makes up 70% of us and all other living things, that we are made of water. And if water is shifting in its consciousness, so are we. If water is shifting, so are we. And so I would encourage those of you that this just resonates in some way, if it's a bit of interest, if it's a bit of a, what's Donna talking about, to reach out or go do some research of yourself. Because I think this is probably going to come up more and more. But just circling back to the fact that we are made of so much water, I want to then think about how our water on our earth is affected by things like the moon. How our tides are affected by these things. So are our bodies. And maybe I'll come back to this topic because I'm conscious I don't want this episode to be too long, but let's think about that. Even in terms of our understanding of how our bodies move in a month-to-month cycle, particularly us as women, but men as well, and how we can better understand the impact of things like the moon on our physical bodies and the changes that happen within our bodies as a result of outside sources like the moon. The other thing around the symbolism of water that just came to me whilst I was preparing for this podcast is the idea that water energy is very much connected to psychic gifts and spiritual gifts. And so I think there's something there that we need to be thinking about and be connecting more with this energy to allow us to connect more with our psychic and spiritual gifts. That was the topic that I thought this week's podcast was going to be. So again, we might circle back to that topic in particular later, but we all have spiritual gifts. We're just disconnected from them. I am starting to open up to some of mine, but still are not open to all of them. But you are no different to me. You are no different to any person that is well on this journey and well connected with their spiritual gifts. You also can access this. And so I wanted to bring that in just to open us up to the idea that there might be something here in terms of the shift in water's consciousness and us needing to connect more with that energy, and these gifts starting to open up for more and more of us. But also the nature of water and how it moves on our planet, like it goes with the flow, kind of path of least resistance until it needs to force its way, until it needs to break the banks or over time carve its way through that rock, whatever it might be, through the earth. It is powerful and calm at the same time. And even just connecting with that feeling of the flowiness, the calmness of water, the stillness of some water, but the ability of water to rage and push action and make changes in significant ways, as we will all know. Even just connecting with that idea and that energy of water alone, I think can really help us in understanding our true power and when and how to use it. I've also got this week this beautiful deck, The Healing Waters, by Rebecca Campbell. It's stunning. As I said, being called to connect more with the water energy. So I'll just see if there's anything else that wants to come through for this week's podcast before we close up. I hope this episode has been helpful for you. It's really interesting how these episodes come together for me and how it kind of just all falls into place. I shared on Instagram this morning, and I've shared with you already around this episode, and I didn't know this morning what I was going to talk about, and it came to me on the walk, that idea of new growth. And then I came home and I meditated and pulled some cards. Actually, that's something I forgot to touch on. In my meditation, I got this image of that, I think it might be the willow from Pocahontas, one of my favourite movies as a child. Probably should go back and watch that. There might be some lessons there for me, maybe for all of us. So go watch Pocahontas this week. But it was around the wisdom of if we can connect with the energy of the earth, even just touching a tree, well, there is wisdom there for us. I know of people that get messages and can communicate with trees and get wisdom that is hundreds of years old from things like that. So I really hope this inspires the whole spectrum of how you respond to this, of just thinking about the seasonality, the movement of the moon, whatever it might be, on how you turn up in the world every month, every season, and how you adjust your energy to suit what's happening in your body as a result of being part of nature, right through to starting to tap into some of these bigger ideas around connecting with the earth's energy and connecting with the idea of water and her consciousness and the wisdom she has to offer us, whatever that might be. I really hope that there was something in here that was helpful to you. I'm sending you loads of love and light until I'm back with you next week. And thank you for tuning in for episode 13 of the Mind, Body, Soul Transformation Podcast. Goodbye.